Okay guys, so I've been playing with the idea of upgrading to these Magnus stingers for a little while now. I normally shoot mechanical broadheads, but over the last probably 5 years that I've been shooting them, I've noticed one problem with them. They fly great out of the Ravin, or have a Wildcat or anything else that I've shot. They kill deer pretty well. I've only had a couple instances where I thought I wasn't going to get a good kill, and that's probably due to good shot placement. But the one problem I foresee is that they tend to have one shot, and that's about it. And what I mean is, once you hit anything with those mechanical blades, they're going to basically falter and flail apart. You know, you can get probably 2 shots if you're lucky on them, and I know you can replace blades and you can go through that whole problem there. But what I want is good pass through those vital organs to make sure that animal is going to be killed in a sufficient amount of time. So today what we're doing is we are testing out how these Magnus stingers, these are 150 grain stingers. I actually called Magnus and asked them what they recommended for the Ravin Crossbows, and this was one of their recommendations. So what I did is I went out and I bought some cheap 150 grain, and I threw those through the crossbow first, and here's that footage. All right guys, so we just shot 2 practice rounds at 25 yards. Pretty good grouping, pretty close together. I probably pulled both of those. I'm pretty happy with that, 25 yards. That's a good shot. Again, these are just the practice tips, so we're gonna go ahead and switch them out with the real stingers and see how they do. All right, so once I knew that the practice tips were flying relatively close to what they were before, I was shooting a little bit to the right. I didn't know if that was because I was pulling it. I didn't have a decent steady. I was just kind of out in my yard shooting. So basically what I ended up doing was I just shot 2 of these. Again, I thought I had pretty good shot placement. I started at 25 yards, and then I was confident enough to go ahead and put in the real tips. So then I took 2 shots without making any adjustments to see where I landed. At 25 yards, here's that footage. All right guys, first shot, 25 yards. Yep, just down a little bit. All right, so now I know that I'm shooting to the right because I've shot 2 separate groups with 2 separate sets of arrows. I'm slightly shooting to the right just a little bit. I make one more final adjustment to get me dialed in just a little bit closer to where I want to be, and here it is. All right guys, so I just moved it left a little bit, the scope. I think I just need a minor adjustment. So take 2 more shots and see what happens. All right guys, so I think this is pretty damn good. This was my first shot, and what I did is I have a 20 pin, 30 pin, 40 pin, 50 pin, all the way down to 100 on that Ravin 5X. So I've been putting the 20 pin right dead center, and I have been shooting a little bit low. So the first shot, what I did is I moved up between the 20 and 30 and put it right at the top of the pin, right at the top of the bullseye. Pretty good. I adjusted my windage. Couple clicks left, got me dialed in, started pulling them over. Here was my first shot group. I wanted to pull it over just a tad bit, and here we are. This is the second shot. It's pretty much right where I wanted it. Again, 25 yards, I shot right at the top and hit right at the bottom. That's a kill shot every day. I don't care who you are. So if you have a question on do stingers, Magnus stingers, fly out of a Ravin 5X, the answer is Absolutely 100% yes. So as you can see, the Ravin 5X has no problem shooting these out of their crossbows. The Magnus Stinger flies pretty accurately, in my opinion. I didn't, measure distances or anything like that, other than my distance to the target. I didn't measure my shot distance from arrow to arrow. I didn't really even check and make sure these were centered or straight. These were what I used last year, and I was confident that they were going to fly pretty straight, and they did. I didn't have a problem with it. So if you're questioning whether or not these are going to work for you this season, the answer is yes. They will shoot out of a R5X, and I believe they'll shoot out of anything else too. If you go to their website, they show you that they are manufactured for both crossbows and arrows. I actually saw these Broadheads on another YouTube video by a bunch of guys known as Ranch Fairies, or at the Ranch Fairy Archery, and I basically watched them talking about how mechanical has failed them over the last couple years. And take in mind, these are guys that I've shot numerous times, tons of deer every single year, probably making fairly accurate shots, if not precision shot placement, and still having problems with the mechanicals either not opening up or not passing through. So that was my experience last year. I didn't have a good pass through on a buck that was probably 16 yards. I had a perfect broadside shot to him, and it did not pass through. That deer still did expire within probably 15 minutes, so I was happy with that result. But at the same time, I want that pass through, and I want it to be able to go through stuff when it's just touching the shoulder a little bit, when it's just hitting a rib. I don't want it to break apart. And I want to be able to reuse it, because these are not cheap. Mechanical broadheads are not cheap. You're paying upwards of 40 bucks for 3 of them, and that's if you get them on sale. So these are comparable in price. I can't remember off the top of my head. I think I paid 45 bucks for 3 of these. These are warranted for life. I saw a guy on YouTube also shoot these through a 50-gallon drum lid and had no problem with it. And I'm sure some of those mechanicals can do the same, but the difference was this wasn't shattered and the mechanical tips were. You could resharpen these year after year and keep using them. Again, they have a lifetime warranty in case you break them, and you also have the ability to swap out blades just like another one. So the true test is going to be this year to see how these react when they go through a deer. I'm going to do a follow-up video hopefully this year with some footage of how well these worked and how accurate they were. But you can tell from this video, they're pretty accurate and they will fly over your Ravin 5X. Thanks for subscribing. Leave any comments or questions down below. And if you like these videos and you want to see more, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. GoPro, stop recording.